Sorry, it looks like the button didn't click properly. We have to start over.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Hi, everyone. This is Leslie Ramsey. Sorry about that delay. I thought I hit the start button. We're going to start from the top here. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm Leslie Ramsey. I'm the manager of ERP products for Decision Resources, and we welcome all of you single source SSL customers today. Today we're going to be walking through SureShip with you. SureShip is a fully integrated shipping solution for Sightline, made specifically for Sightline. And we know that with the impending end of life for SSL, you guys will be looking for a new solution. So Tim McManus will be walking through that with you today. Please feel free to enter any questions you have in the question section. And I'm just going to go ahead and hand off to Tim, and he's going to walk you through.
thank you very much, Leslie. And thanks everyone, like Leslie said, for making time for us today. My name is Tim McManus. I'm the Director of ERP Products for DRI. Formerly, Leslie and I both were with AIT Business Services, also at Infor Channel Partner. AIT had been around 30 years working with the application, and where SureShip came from was we, over the years did a number of implementations where we were asked, can you do some sort of modification or enhancement or some professional services work for integrating, either WorldShip or other things. And we decided one day, let's make that repeatable and installable, and that's where SureShip came from. And in addition to just APIs, and we started there, but shipping does a lot, has a lot to do with a lot of other things, right? What can I actually dispatch to get picked? How do I pick it? Doing pick lists, rate shopping, freight management, freight chargebacks, things like that. And then, obviously the integration to, and we do with carriers, we also do it with LTL and freight carriers, that is direct API integration. And the biggest thing here is one of the biggest things here is we're built in Mongoose. We're actually built in the Sightline development platform so that you're not waiting to sync orders. You're not doing transactions through like the data collection tables, like holding tables that have to process offline and may error out or anything. What is happening here, the only integration that we do is with the carriers via API. So everything with inventory and transactions and what's available and all that is live in real time. And the app also looks and feels just like a Sightline application. In terms of carriers, like I said, we've got quite a few. We have over 100 parcel carriers available, either domestically or from international origin. A number of direct connections to freight companies, LTL companies, and most recently we've been working on integration with 3PL providers. So Worldwide Express, for example, that connection can make up tens of thousands of local and national carriers available as well. So we've got a lot of options. And again, this, just to stress, this is going directly to the carriers. So I know you're using, or quite a few of you using, say, WorldShip, and that the SSL is integrating to WorldShip. This doesn't use WorldShip anymore. Now we're talking directly to, in that case, UPS. We started doing this a few years back, and we've been very successful with getting it out there with our customer base. These are some of our customers that we've got up on SureShip here, and we are continuing to grow that. Talked about upstream of shipping and picking. I know that the SSL has some pick, pack, and ship capabilities. And one of the things we did, we looked at pick, pack, and ship, and why a lot of people didn't use it, because of it was cumbersome, lack of flexibility. You had to do, all the steps. If something went wrong, how do I undo it? How do I fix it? So we imagined a alternate universe pick, pack, and ship where you can, go through all those steps if you want. If you want to do pick lists, and we actually threw in staging multiple locations, do the packing and shipping, or maybe you don't want to do staging, or maybe you're just doing pick lists and you want to go straight to the packing station and not have to do that middle pick piece. Or I just go to the packing station, scan some orders, pack them, or I just want to ship something. Maybe it's the end of the year and I want to send a little something out to my customers. There are no orders for that, or a customer calls for a sample, or I've got a vendor return or something. I just want to do miscellaneous shipments. We can do that as well. And that is the extent of my PowerPoint. I'm going to go into the application here. And I know Leslie's monitoring the question channel there. So again, feel free to do that. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is just a quick shipment here from our SureShip console. And what I can do from here is I can ship directly from customer orders, from pick lists if I didn't want to use pick, pack, and ship. If there were transfer orders, I can just scan a transfer order, or service orders, the SROs, both the line of material, anything like that. I can just do a direct shipment out of that. I'm going to start with a customer order, and let's take a look at one of these. Just scan that in. This brings back my lines. I can determine what I want to ship here. I could select an individual line or line. I can change the quantity. I can change the location. If it was lot or serial tracked, I can manage that. In this case, I'm going to select all and just create my shipment. What that does, that's going to create a bill of lading for me, which is going to contain all my information that I'm going to use for for carriers, for customers, for customer service. And this takes me to the pack station. Down in the bottom right, these are the lines that I selected. This is what I need to ship. Up here in the middle, this is where I'm going to say what am I putting in, what container am I putting in it. So scanning boxes, things like that. This first item, I'm sure if you can see this, says self-contained. We've got a feature here that's we call self-contained items or auto pack. You can define a part. Maybe when you're done with manufacturing, you throw it on the shelf for inventory. It already may be in the box that you're shipping it in. So you're actually not going through the process of putting it in a package and doing that. I set this one up to be 1 per box. So I've got a quantity of 4. All I have to do is add that item, and it's actually going to add those packages for me. It's going to put a quantity of 1 in each package, and it's updating the weight, both the tear weight of the material, of the packaging plus the material weight there. So that's the quick packing. Let's say that I know I need a couple more of these boxes here. I can go up here and say, package 118. I want a quantity of 2. I can bulk add some additional packages here. And now this one doesn't have anything. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that item to that package. Let's see, I'll go down and I'll add that item to that package. If I wanted to scan parts, here, I could just do this and barcode scan them in there. I could scan them in one at a time if I want, like supermarket scanning, or I could just scan them in and enter a quantity. If there's maybe 100 parts and I'm scanning it, I don't want to do that 100 times. Let's finish that, add that part. And as you see here, now everything's green and it's keeping track of what's packed, what's remaining. I've got my boxes here. I may or may not want to rate shop that here. So if I wanted to rate shop, I could go here and either pick the carrier, or maybe I want to just look at all carriers that do parcel. Or maybe I've got a shipment that's kind of in between and I'm not sure which it would be best for, so I can look at everything. It'll go back and say, here's what your parcel shipments would cost, and here's what a freight shipment would cost. And I can select that, change the ship to here as well. But I'm going to leave that there. This is all packed up. Next thing I want to do is just print the shipping labels. And when I do this, this is, again, communicating directly to UPS. It's not hitting WorldShip. And I know, so WorldShip, you get a bunch of shipment numbers sort of allocated to you, and you use them during the day and then do a procedure at night to, end of day sort of thing to transmit to UPS, like what's shipped. These things now are immediately in the UPS system. In this case, these are fake numbers for our development environment, but I could just right click on that and get status on that. It would show that a label was scanned, UPS hasn't picked it up yet. So all good, ready to go. Next thing I probably want to do is print my documentation. And notice I don't have a bunch of buttons up here that says print packing slip, print bill of lading, print that. We decided to make that a little bit more efficient here. And this is a listing of all our documentation that comes standard with the product. And this can be defined to be as a default for every shipment that I want to do. So maybe I want the bill of lading and a packing slip, or maybe I want 2 copies of the packing slip. On that, maybe a certain customer wants 2 copies of it. We can also have this set up so that specific customers will get the documents that they want, even if it is a version for them. So maybe Home Depot has a certain format that they require for a packing slip. You can set that up and configure it in the system so that when I have a Home Depot order, it'll print the Home Depot packaging. Same thing with the labels. We do default labels and also customer specific labels. And again, depending on what I'm shipping and to whom I'm shipping it, these labels will populate over here, and all I have to do is print them. And let's take a look here. We go, a couple of things here. Our packing slips. Packing slips will tell me what's in what box. Again, if it's serial tracked or lot tracked, it will show down to the serial number there. And our bill of lading report. And again, these can be personalized for your company or for your customers. So I scanned an order, I got some parts, I put them in the boxes, I printed my labels, I printed my documentation. The next thing I can do is just ship it right out of Sightline. And if I want, I can hit this button here to ship the order right here, so it can be all done in the same place. I can do it one at a time. Or if I wanted to, I can do our bulk shipping. And that would basically be, let's say my UPS truck shows up. Here are all the orders that I set up that, just like you saw, they're packaged, the labels are printed, documents are ready to go. UPS truck shows up and let's ship them all, except maybe this one and this one didn't get on the truck. That's okay. I'm not going to process those. When I do this, this is going to do the shipment right out of Sightline and set it up for invoicing. And it will do the shipment. It is actually using the the shipment procedure, so I'm not farming this off to some background process table or anything like that. Okay, so that's a quickish shipment from the console, the SureShip console. and it was only non-quickish because I talked most of the way through it. But let's look at a couple other things here. We have a pick workbench that looks very similar to the Sightline pick workbench. The difference here is that instead of only doing customer orders, I can choose transfer orders or service orders or custom orders here, and we can do the entire picking process for those. But I think PaceJet actually does pick lists for transfer orders, Leslie.
I believe so.
And then basically here are my parts, and I have information about what's available, what I can ship, and these shipping groups here are basically set up to group like parts and orders if it's going to the same place, to the same customer on the same ship via with the same due date. If maybe I wanted to look at my orders and say, okay, plus or minus a couple days of due date, right? I want to ignore that and then group these. This will actually start grouping it just by basis of where it's going to, and not necessarily the the due date breakout. This is nice, but it's line by line by line. We've got some customers that have, say, 300 line items, and this gets a little bit unwieldy to go through. So we have another option here, which is our order pick console. And the order pick console is very, very similar in what it does, right? It goes and it pulls what are my orders that I can ship or that I want to ship, where are they going, when are they due. But instead of line by line, this is looking at it on an order by order basis. And it's giving me the order header information or the top information, but it's also, if I look down to the right, it's giving me some detail information. I can see the total lines I have, how many lines are ready, total pieces. I can see the value, depending on permissions. Maybe I want to ship all the high value things out at the end of the month. And it's looking at this, total pieces ready, and calculating that, yes, this is ready to ship, and this and this and this. But if I come down here on this line 67, it's only partially ready to ship because it's looking at that and saying, you don't have enough necessarily to fulfill that after you've fulfilled these. So it is doing a countdown on allocations. And if I wanted to actually filter out my partials, when I invoke this report, I can just choose what I'm looking at. So this, I'm looking at ready and partially ready. I don't need to see not ready ones. If I had a partial order that, technically was, I could ship 3 out of 4, but on the order I said ship complete, that would treat it as not ready entirely. So you wouldn't even see that. And again, I can do the same thing where I can consolidate these orders, and we look at my shipping groups here. Wow, and I will assign the groups. And now you can see it is, putting all these in group 2 because it's going to the same place. If I wanted to ignore the due date on that group 2 becomes, it turns into a different group. It'll include more orders. So I can here also ignore the due date or the ship via. And by the ship via, maybe one order is going UPS ground, the other one was set up UPS, 2-day or something, and it actually makes sense to throw the ground shipment in with the 2-day shipment. So you can consolidate those as well. And when I do this, I'll print the pick list here. Pick list will print out. If I do scan multiple orders, it will. I do have the option here to print a bulk pick list, and what that will do is it's going to take every single part that's on that group of orders and sort them in part number and location, order so that I can have an orderly, route through the warehouse to do the picking on that. Also have the ability here to filter on anything. We've got some, larger filters up here. If I wanted to look at my, what do I need to ship today, things like that. I want to select a couple of parts that I know about or orders I know about here. There they are. At this point, if I want, I'll go ahead and I'm going to choose that one order and go ahead and generate my pick list on that. Now that I've got a pick list, if I wanted to do the picking out on the warehouse, we do have a factory track extension for this, right? There's my pick list and there's my bulk pick list. Like I said, excuse me. It is sorted. There's only one order and 4 parts in this, but it is sorted by part number, location, order on that. So we could do picking with factory track if we wanted to, or at this point, we could go back to the console here and I could just go straight to, I need to reload the console, I believe. There we go. I go straight to that console and scan that pick list in instead of the order, and then I go ahead and generate the shipment, and that'll take me right back to where I was here. So again, I can scan orders, I can do pick, package, ship here. If I wanted to just scan in transfer orders, service orders, and directly ship them, I could. But now let's say I've got this pick list out here and I'm going about my business and I find out that maybe I don't have all the parts that I thought. So if I look at that pick list here, this is in process. There aren't 4, we can only find 2. I don't need to undo this thing and like cancel the whole pick list and undo it and restart from scratch. All I do is I put the new quantity here. We can only do 2, and I can adjust that pick list there. Maybe, that scenario where I had 2 orders shipping together, maybe it wasn't on the console, but customer called in before 3 p.m. and we want to get it on the same shipment. You can add another order and generate a pick list for that, and then come down here and actually merge the 2, or 2 or more. Excuse me, I got a little tickle. Hold on. Okay, yeah, you can merge 1, 2, or more shipments together. That I can change them. So that whole process, if something changes, we've got the ability to accommodate that. Also here on the, pick console, if let's say, where's the other order I did here? Let's say, I drop this box and I need to void that, print another label, or, I weighed it wrong or something. And by the way, like I mentioned, the weight does come from, it gets calculated based on the packages and the items. But if you don't have that set up, throw it on a scale, hit get weight. And if your scale is not connected, you can just enter the weight as well. Okay, sorry, I'm muting and coughing here. I got a little inhaled something. What I was saying was, in terms of correcting errors when things happen, If I wanted to, I could void this package, I could void the label, I could void all of them. Maybe the customer canceled it. And if I wanted to do that, let's just say I'm going to go ahead and void all these packages, and it's going to say, you sure, you sure, sure. Yeah, we're going to do that. And now these things are voided. If I wanted to unpack some parts in here, I could go ahead and unpack items. I could basically just say this whole shipment's gone. I hit undo, and what that's going to do is that will unpack them. It'll forget the boxes ever existed. It'll forget that I, created this shipment. And if it was a pick list situation, it'll undo that pick list so that when I come back into the order pick console the next time, that order will show up just as if nothing ever happened to it. So a lot of flexibility to change when stuff doesn't go according to plan. I also mentioned maybe we just wanted to do year-end shipping. Go here, we've got our quick ship. And the quick ship console is largely similar to the other console, with the exception of I'm not tethered to a document like custom orders or transfer orders. I can, if I want, I can do just a miscellaneous shipment here, a manual shipment. I can type my address in myself. If I wanted to, this may be somewhere that I use a lot. I can add that to a internal address book here. Or if I wanted to actually borrow an address out of the system, like maybe I am sending it to a customer at year end as a sample or something, I go out, choose that customer, and that's going to use that customer address. Same thing with a vendor. Maybe I'm doing a vendor shipment where I wanted the address of the PO where it went from. I can do that. And then at this point, I can go ahead and do the same thing with, boxes. I can put boxes in there and parts here. I can load this with items if I want, or I could just simply weigh this box and ship it and print a label. So I've got a choice here. And when I do want to put items here, it could be, just a bunch of nothing, free form, whatever. Or if I wanted to borrow from the item master, I actually could do that. And what that'll do actually is it'll bring over some attributes about the item that I might want to include in my shipment description, value. We do international shipments both on the regular console and here. So if it's international shipment, maybe I want to get the HTS code, things like that. We do have customers send in samples overseas, and they use this a lot. And all of that documentation that we talked about before is still available here. And it's just going to go to the level of detail that I give it here. All right, if I just had blah, blah, blah as an item and no HTS code, obviously I can't print that. But if I want to reference that, I can. And again, I can do the labels and do the actual, create the shipment with the carrier. But the difference with this is this will not do any inventory transactions. So it's not going to ship anything. It's really kind of an untethered shipment. Okay. I think, Leslie, usually this goes a little bit longer here, but
Did you show the tracking and amounts to go into the customer?
Oh, geez. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually, wait, and there's more. Get in here. So let's go back to my console here and let's look at that. One of the shipments I did here. And I'm going to go ahead and print the shipping labels again on this guy. Okay. Let's find one that's shipped. That's a freight one. Here we go. There's a good one. So this is all shipped out ready. It's actually status shipped, so it's shipped out of Sightline as well. But let's look a little bit about the the shipment itself. On that bill of lading, I'll go out there and, as I mentioned, that's going to collect all of the related information here for me in terms of where this is going, who's sending it. If you're doing freight forwarding, third-party brokers, we accommodate that throughout the whole process as well. In terms of the contents of the shipment, here you can see I've got these packages set up. Here's this is in this box. If it was serial tracked or lot tracked, you'd have that level of detail on there. And then of course the charges here, right? When I did that shipment, what are my charges? And that's $303. That's what I'm paying with my UPS account. But what I might want to charge the customer, that could be a different affair. And we have some provisions to manage that. So I just popped off to the customer order, this customer order that we just shipped. If I look at tracking, there's the tracking numbers that are automatically attached to the customer order. By the way, when I print the documentation, that can get emailed to the customer, including tracking numbers and things like that. So customer service can see it. If they wanted to look at the detail, they just right-click back into that bill of lading. They can see that. But we're talking about the freight cost, $300. I've got the ability here to apply freight rules. And a freight rule is basically saying, okay, well, what do I want to charge my customer for this? And you can have multiple freight rules in here. One, the default, I think, is what we're going to do is no markup at all, but I could have a markup that says, all right, here's 10%. It's going to be based on the negotiated rate, my published rate. It could be a flat fee or based on the value of the shipment or the order. And I'm going to mark that up a percentage or a dollar or no markup, pass it straight through. So when that happens and I ship that order, the customer order itself would get, and I believe my default is no markup here. So if I look at the amounts here, here's the $303. If I put my 10% rule on there, it would be 330 something. And I can do this this markup up front because I can still do rate shopping here as well. If I wanted to do some rate shopping up front, I could look at that, and let's say that I chose this $67. I chose that. That's going to look at my rule and tell the customer it's going to be $67 plus the 10% or whatever it is. And then maybe I go to ship it, and because we're late in production or something, I have to ship it overnight. Well, I don't want to charge them $300 because I quoted them 67. You've got the ability here to go out and lock that freight in once it is quoted, so that won't change it. Customers that have their own shipping accounts. Sightline lets you have a customer shipping account. And I think it's in the ship to, so you get one shipping account per ship to. So if you have a customer that has a UPS account, a FedEx account, things like that, you either need to set up an additional ship to, or you've got to use notes or do something like that. And we address that here by allowing you to have as many different customer shipping accounts as you'd like here. And say customer one, for instance, has their FedEx account, a UPS account, ODFL, and so forth. And what'll happen is if I set one of these up as the default, when they go to create the custom order, that shipping account will come over there as a default. And if I am doing international shipping, and maybe I prepay and add all this stuff with these rules, but I want the customer to use their freight account for the export charges, you can split that up as well. And in terms of, some other information about freight costs and things like that, if I go back to the console, I look at this shipment here. If I right click this shipment, and I can take a look, I'll get a report here that actually shows me in detail the freight charges and maybe fuel surcharges, accessorial fees. So here I'm going to blow this up a little bit, but this is going to show me all the details of the freight, and then down here in terms of the the amounts and everything like that. So that kind of breakdown is available to you as well. I'll ask Leslie what else I forgot.
I think you covered that was a pretty good, I think you touched majority of the functionality.
Okay.
So we have some time for questions. Jeff Smith from Single Source is also on if anybody has any questions. One question I do have here is, does SureShip work with Sightline version 803.11? We cover versions from 803.11 to 10 perpetual or on-premise, and starting next month we will also have SureShip for multi-tenant SaaS. Another question is, do you interface with WorldShip and Ship Manager, and do you load our rates? And I think as Tim mentioned, we don't need WorldShip with Sightline or SureShip because we go directly via APIs to not only UPS but FedEx, DHL, and some LTL carriers.
Yeah, and what that in terms of rates, this is kind of behind the scenes here, but when you set this up, you will configure this API connection using your account. So that's going to get your rates. You won't have to load them or anything like that. It's just, it knows if you negotiate better rates tomorrow, they show up here automatically.
And then another question is, how often are you updating or syncing data for Sightline?
Never, because it is all Sightline data we're looking at.
Yeah.
So when I print a pick list, I show quantity picked on the order. When I press ship, it's, the inventory is out of Sightline. When I look at my order pick console and I look at my quantities, that's all real time and live.
Yeah, all those material transactions are happening in real time, and all the changes you make when Tim hit that undo button, that's reversing out all the material transactions, and it does record to the material transactions a record, so you'll always have a record of what happened. Do you generate ASNs for EDI?
We do. We've got a number of EDI customers that are using this.
Okay. Do you plan to add more APIs to 3PL providers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, we do. We kind of evaluate that when we look at the actual API carrier or the carrier itself. So, in terms of 3PLs, this is what we're working with now. We've got a couple in the hopper here that we're discussing. And if it's, I don't know, Fred's Freight and Burger joint or something, we may not want to do that for the product, but something like Kuhn and Nagel and Worldwide Express, Red Hawk, these are big, bigger firms that make the product better. So those tend to get into the roadmap more. But we also can do API connections to individuals or specific 3PLs on a case-by-case basis.
The other question on there is, do your APIs also bring in the cubic capacity and linear foot rules?
I'm not Sure. So, okay, if we're talking about dimensional freight and dimensional freight costs, yes, absolutely. Um, the way that was phrased made it sound to me more like
Yeah.
loading and containerization loading or something. We're not doing that yet. That is something that we're creeping up on, and it's on our roadmap. But in terms of the APIs, the only thing I'm aware of, that dimensional freight stuff, absolutely we do.
Okay. He was asking about LTL rules within the API.
LTL rules? Yeah. Thanks for helping me finish my demo. Because you're absolutely right. In terms of like our shipping options here, why is that weighted out? Let me go to customer order. Our shipping options here, we have for, I mean, parcel rules, signature, Saturday, things like that, freight rules, lift gates, accessorial type issues, inside delivery, pallet, lift gate type stuff required. And some carriers actually have kind of their own language as well on that.
And how long is an implementation? So I can answer that. That our standard implementation is approximately 3 months. For if you're coming in to do standard, not with a lot of enhancements or modification requests. We start with a set of configuration training. We install everything into your pilot environment, your Sightline pilot environment. You've got 2 sets of training: setup, configuration, and then a functional training. If there are any changes to documentation, labels, etc., we kind of gather that information right up front, so we get started on working on that for you. And then we support you during your piloting. We pick a go live weekend, stake in the ground, make sure you're ready to go after all your training of your end users, and making sure all your setups are done, and we cut you over on a weekend. And then for that go live, we're providing dedicated support, making sure any questions that come up during that first week get top priority. And then we also have a help desk and a support portal that is monitored by somebody who's always looking to make sure if there's anything critical issues come up, that they're assigned a resource and handled quickly. But you'll receive, we're always kind of keeping an eye on that, making sure support. I can say we've got very good support. So yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Anything for me or anything for Jeff? All right. Well, let's see. Can SureShip, here's another question. Can SureShip handle a single item that ships in multiple boxes?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. We can. Right now is not the most elegant thing. We just put in fractions of, if it goes in 4 boxes, I'm using, 0.25 in a box, but we can do that. Can tell these people ship for a living.
Yeah. Anything else? Right. So, yeah. So that's a great question, Gretchen. This has been recorded. I'm going to send the link to the recording to all of you so you can review it and share with anyone who wasn't able to attend. And then for any follow-up questions, I sent out the invite. You can please, feel free to question me directly if you'd like to follow up on, more questions. If you'd like me to create an estimate for you, or even schedule a demo for your team, for anyone who wasn't able to attend, so we can get really into kind of the details of how you do business. We really appreciate everyone's attendance, and we hope we'll also be at the Sun Conference, by the way, in a few weeks. We'll be at the Decision booth, having SureShip there to show, as well as on Wednesday, I think is our session at noon 10.
11:30-ish.
Yeah, it's on the last day of the.
But we're giving away a brand new Ferrari, so you have to attend to get it, though.
Well, we hope to see you there. Please come by, say hello, and thank you again. We really appreciate your attendance, and hope to speak to all of you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.